Woodpeckers are busy little birds. They spend lots of time looking for food and even more time drilling holes in trees. But despite all that pecking, they don't get concussions. And their long tongues can be as long as 10 inches. So how do woodpeckers work without getting brain damage? What else is special about these birds? And what do they do with all those holes they drill in trees? Keep watching to find out. The first thing you might notice about a woodpecker is its super beak. Woodpeckers use their beaks to drill into tree trunks and find insects to eat. They can peck up to 20 times per second. That means if a woodpecker pecks for just 1 hour, it will peck more than 700 times. In a whole day, a woodpecker can peck several thousand times. If you stacked up all the wood chips from those pecks, you would have a pile taller than a blue whale. Those woodpeckers must have some serious chompers to drill through all that wood, and they do. The upper part of a woodpecker's beak is made of a hard material called keratin. This makes the beak feel like a chisel. The lower part of the beak is softer, which lets the beak bend a little when it hits a tree. That helps the woodpecker direct where it's pecking. When the woodpecker slams its beak into a tree, it uses the strong muscles in its beak, neck, and chest to peck over and over again without having to stop and catch its breath. It can keep drilling until it finds an insect hiding inside the tree. But why don't woodpeckers get concussions? After all, they're constantly hammering themselves into trees. To answer this question, we have to look inside a woodpecker's head. A woodpecker's skull is about 3 times thicker than the human skull. This helps protect its brain from the repeated shocks of pecking. But that's not all. Inside the woodpecker's skull are spongy bones filled with fluid. These spongy bones help absorb vibrations when the woodpecker pecks. But there's another trick. When a woodpecker pecks, it sticks its tongue out to the sides. Its tongue wraps around the sides of its skull, much like a seatbelt. This also helps cushion its brain. You may have felt your brain go thump, thump when you rode a bus or train that suddenly stopped. Well, it's possible that a woodpecker doesn't feel these vibrations because its whole head works as a unit. Its skull, spongy bones, and tongue are all connected, so they move together. They act like a single body part instead of separate parts that are loosely attached. And that's why woodpeckers can peck all day without getting a concussion. Once a woodpecker finds an insect hiding inside a tree, it uses its extra long tongue to grab the insect. But how can a woodpecker fit a long tongue inside a small hole? Well, a woodpecker's tongue is 2 to 3 times longer than its beak. That means it has plenty of tongue sticking out of the hole so the bird can grab onto the insect and pull it out of the tree. But a woodpecker's tongue isn't like ours. It's covered with tiny barbs at the tip. The barbs feel sticky and they wrap around an insect like Velcro. Also, the saliva at the tip of the tongue is sticky too. It helps hold on to the insect while the woodpecker pulls it out of the tree. Then the woodpecker swallows the insect. Yum. Woodpeckers can only reach insects that live under the bark of a tree. But there are other insects that burrow inside the trunks of trees. If these insects aren't careful, they could end up in a woodpecker's stomach. But how do woodpeckers find insects that hide inside trees? Well, they listen for them. Many insects make a noise by rubbing their legs together or scraping their bodies against the inside of a tree. Some insects even drum on the inside of a tree. Can you imagine a woodpecker pecking in one side of a tree and an insect drumming on the other side? They'd be playing a natural game of Where's Waldo? Or maybe the woodpecker is the insect's version of Where's Waldo? Either way, woodpeckers can use the sounds that insects make to find them. Not only does a woodpecker need a strong beak and a long tongue to find insects, it needs special feet too. Most birds have 2 toes pointing forward and 2 toes pointing backward on each foot. This lets them grip branches while they're hopping around. But a woodpecker can't hop around while it's pecking. It needs to stay still. Otherwise, it will just be pecking at thin air. That's why each foot has 2 toes pointing forward and 2 toes pointing backward. This lets them grip a tree firmly. When they're ready to peck, their tail also helps them balance. A woodpecker's tail is stiff and flat. It acts like a prop that sticks out behind them. It gives them something to lean on while they peck. It's kind of like using a wall for support. All these special body parts let woodpeckers do amazing things. They can peck thousands of times a day, and they don't even get a headache. And they can find insects hiding inside trees, under their bark, and all around them. But woodpeckers don't just find insects for themselves, they help other creatures too. Insects can cause big problems for forests. If there are too many of them, they can eat all the leaves on the trees. Then the trees can die. That's why woodpeckers are called the doctors of the forest. They keep forests healthy by controlling insect populations. Woodpeckers also create homes for other creatures. When they peck holes in trees to find insects, they make empty spaces inside the tree trunks. These spaces can act as bedrooms for birds and animals who live in the forest. Sometimes several families of birds or other animals can live in just one tree. Other animals who live in the forest benefit from the extra food that woodpeckers leave behind. When woodpeckers eat insects, they often leave the insect legs, wings, and shells behind. These pieces of food can be eaten by other animals. There are more than 200 different kinds of woodpeckers around the world. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some woodpeckers are smaller than a sparrow. Others are as tall as a crow. Some have colorful heads, and others have plain brown feathers. But no matter what they look like, woodpeckers have the same strong body parts, and they play the same important role in the forest. They help keep the trees healthy, and they make homes for other animals. So next time you see a woodpecker, remember that it's a hero of the forest. If a woodpecker pecks at a tree for 1 hour, how many times will it peck? Let's do some math to find out. A woodpecker can peck up to 20 times per second. There are 60 seconds in every minute. So in 1 hour, a woodpecker can peck 20 times per second, 60 seconds per minute, 60 minutes per hour. That's 72,000 times. Wow, that's all for now. See you next time.